Ukrainian forces have claimed their first success in a long-anticipated counteroffensive as they recaptured 3 villages from Russian forces in the southeast of the country on Sunday. Kyiv's forces posted unverified videos showing soldiers hoisting the Ukrainian flag at a bombed-out building in the village of Bladon in the Donetsk region and posing with the unit's flag in the adjacent village as well. Kyiv officials have imposed a strict period of operational silence and urged Ukrainians not to disclose any information that could compromise this operation. The occupied southeast is seen as a priority for Kyiv's forces that may aim to threaten Russia's land bridge to the annexed peninsula of Crimea and split Russian forces into half. While Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky said on Saturday that counteroffensive and defensive operations had officially begun in Ukraine, the Russian President Putin has said Ukrainian forces had so far failed in their counteroffensive and that the offensive potential of Ukraine had not been undermined yet. Before we listen into some reactions, let's bring in our guests. We have Ukrainian MP Oleksiy Kocherenko, who is joining us on the broadcast. Oleksiy, thank you for patiently waiting. Thank you for also taking our time and joining us here. Help us understand how prepared is Ukraine as far as this counteroffensive is concerned.
Yeah, hello. And we have a good news. Today, by the way, in Russia, there is a national holiday day, Russia Day. And this day, Russia is becoming smaller. And we are liberating our territories and really already dozens of square kilometers and several villages. And we are moving ahead in the southern part of our country. That is very important because we have this result despite the very strong fortifications which Russians made there during last almost 1 year when they occupied these territories. But even these fortifications couldn't stop our army from advancing.
Right. As you said, this is a big day as far as the counteroffensive for Ukraine is concerned and for the country at large. For the last 1 year and actually above the time period of 1 year, the war only continues to escalate. Russia has been saying that Ukraine's army and numbers on the ground are no match as far as Russia is concerned. Even today, they're calling it a failed offensive. How do you see the criticism that's coming in from Russia?
I mean, Russia, I just want to remind you, a year ago, Russia was telling that they will take Ukraine in 3 days, that they are so strong. They have the strongest, the second strongest army in the world. Now they have the second strongest army in Ukraine after Ukrainian army. And they're saying we are defending successfully, which is not also true because as you see, even in defense, they don't have the real success. You can't estimate results of counteroffensive in days. It started several days ago, and today we already have some results. We need to be patient, we need to wait, for several weeks, and then we will understand what is real result of this part of Ukrainian counteroffensive. But that's not the only one, that is only one part of it.
Oleksiy, I want to ask an important aspect from you, something that we've discussed over the last 1 year. There is a very serious cost that is attached to this ongoing war, and we don't see any end in sight. There is a human cost and there is a financial cost. Is Ukraine ready on both fronts? The human cost that they will need to put in to keep the war on or to put up this counteroffensive, and the financial cost as well?
Yes, we don't have any other option. For us, it's existential. Russians, they are committing genocide against Ukrainians in occupied territories. They're killing us, raping, stealing our children. So this is a real genocide. So for us, it's to be or not to be. So we will pay as much as it will be needed to defend our country and to live freely on our land.
You're right, Oleksiy, that when the war had started, Russia had made big claims that they will actually be able to capture Kyiv in 3 days. And the expectation at that point was that the Ukrainian forces will give up. But you have put up a fight of resilience and you've managed to carry it on to the 1-year mark as well. At this point, I want to understand, how do you see the war's future? What do you think is the war's future? I know you won't be able to give me details in terms of areas that will be of priority for the Ukrainian forces, but talking about areas as far as the bridges that were connecting to Zaporizhzhia, will those be priorities to completely cut Moscow off?
All our lands are our priorities. We don't want any inch of Russian territory, but we are not going to give up any inch of Ukrainian land. So all our land is our priority. About the war can finish tomorrow if Russia will just get out from Ukraine. So the war can be finished like this. For this, Russia just should stop this unjustified war and leave Ukraine. That's all.
Okay, I also want to understand at this point, because Ukraine is confident that you will be able to keep the momentum on in terms of this counteroffensive, you will need help as well. What is the kind of help that Ukraine wants from the West at this point?
It's clear, it's a war. So the first and most important is military support. We are not asking for boots on the ground. We are fighting ourselves. But yes, we need modern Western weaponry in order to be successful. So that is the most important for us. But all other types of support, sanctions, financial, economic support, political, moral support, you could believe me, even the fact that I know that millions of people in India are praying for the peace in Ukraine, it's also very important for us. So all kinds of support are important.
I also want to understand this advisory that is being sent out by Ukrainian authorities of silence on people. Why do you think that is so crucial at this point?
I think that's important, not to make some moral pressure on our army, but to wait, to be patient, and definitely not to give information to enemy, which can be used by enemy to understand where they should prepare and how. So I think that was about this.
Alexei, I also now want to understand as far as Russia's offensive is concerned, because the war is still on, Russia also continues to mount its offensive. How does the day-to-day life on the ground currently look like?
Like Russia continues to attack civilian infrastructure almost every day. We have air raid signals, we have missile attacks, drone attacks against Ukrainian, just ordinary people. In Odessa, my native city from which I am now speaking with you, like just several days ago, there was again drone attacks and 3 people were killed. Dozens were wounded, including children and pregnant women. So that's definitely very exhausting, and Russia is putting terror on just ordinary people. But again, it's existential for us. So we will keep fighting as long as it will take.
Alexei, right, as you said, that Russia continues with its offensive, it continues to target civilian areas. For how long do you see this war on? Do you see a solution in sight?
I told you, it can finish tomorrow. If Russia will leave Ukraine. The war will continue till Ukrainian land will not be liberated. That's when the war will finish. I can't tell you the day. If Russia will stop this, that can be in one day. If we will need to win it on the battlefield, it can take a year, I don't know, how many months. Nobody can tell you.
Okay, Alexei, we appreciate you taking out the time and joining us here to help us understand what the ground situation currently looks like and what is potentially the future as far as this ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine is concerned.